Hello, my name is Ariel Kalil. I'm a professor at the University of Chicago in the Harris School of Public Policy Studies, where I direct the Behavioral Insights and Parenting Lab and also the Center for Human Potential and Public Policy. These interventions generally try to stimulate both the quantity and the quality of caregiver engagement with the child, particularly in those early years of life. And we can think of interventions to stimulate language engagement, to help support better emotional relationships, in particular to help parents be more sensitive and warm and to understand the cues that their young children are sending them. I will say that much of what we have tried has historically been quite expensive. It has been what I call high touch, heavy touch and high cost. And I think the challenge from a public policy standpoint now is to figure out lower cost, lighter touch interventions from which many families can benefit. Not every family needs a very intensive and very expensive intervention to develop new habits of interacting with their children. And we now have emerging research that is pointing in several different directions to devise these lower cost, lighter touch programs. I think the number one challenge before us as a public policy community is to understand what parents want and what their aspirations are. There is no behavioral intervention that can make somebody do something they're not interested in doing. And what we need is the kind of qualitative, deep understanding of the communities and cultures in which we operate to understand, for example, what is the identity of this caregiver as a caregiver or a parent? What are their goals? What are their aspirations? What do they feel is important? We need first to understand that in all of the different cultures in which we work. Then our behavioral interventions can be designed to help align those aspirations with actual behavior. In my view, that's the goal, is to help close the gap between what parents and caregivers say they want to do and what they actually do. And that, to me, is really the heart of a behaviorally informed approach to promoting parent-child engagement. By definition, that's a very interdisciplinary field, and there's always more work to be done when a field of research crosses different disciplines. So we need to understand the science of decision-making. That might be cognitive science and social psychology. We need to understand child development. That's developmental psychology and neuroscience. We need to understand the social context. Maybe that is sociology and public health, and we need to understand the costs and the benefits of any intervention that we might design. That's economics and public policy. So I think the field is very exciting because this approach does bridge so many different disciplines. And I think people who work in this field have that interest and that will to make that happen. But it is an extra challenge relative to research that is more narrow in sort of a purely kind of bench science realm. Well, I'm trained as a developmental psychologist, and actually I have always studied the role of the family and the role of parents in promoting and children's development and helping children fulfill their potential. And I, as you know, am on the faculty at the School of Public Policy at the University of Chicago, and I have always been interested in how can I do research that informs public policy. I think we now have a new understanding of the importance of the family and the home environment. I think for many years we thought schools were the answer. And we sort of thought, well, what we should be focusing on is education policy. I don't dispute that education policy is important, that schools are important contexts, but I think from a public policy standpoint, we have long neglected parents and families. There are many reasons why we don't think we should tell parents what to do, for example. That's a relevant standpoint to take. But I think the time has come where we now understand so much about early brain development and about the role that caregivers play in shaping children's cognitive development and their social development. I think the time has really come where there's a lot of excitement and will in bridging these two areas of work. And I'm so excited to be working in that area.